here is the deer I done after I put the capes on them. They look a lot better. Here's a couple of deer. Some other taxidermists did them, not me. But I'm going to redo them for the guy. Not sure what they did wrong. I know a lot of times they run into pH problems when they tan the capes and stuff. And not saying they tanned it. They did something. Whatever they did it wrong. This one's the worst one. They're both pretty bad shape. You see there's no hair on the ears. All that stuff is gone. Down here on the body. Pretty bad shape. So first we're going to take them off the plaques. And then we'll start taking the skin off. The first thing I'm going to do is get these panels off the back of him. Put something underneath so I don't damage the bottom. Basically, I'm just unscrewing the screws that are holding the form to the panel. You want to save the panel somewhere. Clean it up real good and put it back on when we're done with it. First thing I gotta do is take these old capes off, you know. Just using screwdrivers, knives, everything I got at my disposal. Probably not a bad idea to wear a mask or something because it's gross. And the reason I say it's gross is, well, obviously it is, but parasites, you know, they could be in the air a little bit or something. That's why I would wear a mask or something. It would be better. Sometimes the best thing is just a big old screwdriver. Pry those staples out. These are big long staples too. So now part of the deal was use the same forms, new capes, the same forms. Get stuff off the back, prying these staples off. Well, try not to damage the foam too much, but they use some big staples around the back. Some of these I could probably just hammer in or try to pry them out, but they go pretty deep. Got some stitches back here, probably could bust. That might help a little. But I'm just tearing it off, you know, I'm manhandling it, so. Pretty awesome. There we are. I actually mounted the antlers a lot lower than the form, I guess. Usually when I mount a rack, it's right level with the top of the antlers. I mean the top of the form. But I don't know. I may reset them after all if I can get them to look better, you know. But I don't know. Oh, there we are. Woohoo! Slowly but surely we're making progress. We use pins in the tear duct, so that's pretty good. I'll be darned, pins and all. That's, well, made our life a little easier. But yeah, he did a good job. I can reuse this here. Oh yeah, this form will be fine. Okay, hopefully everything comes out okay around the nose. Probably need to be a little cautious anyway, but yep. Oh, that's good shape. That'll make a good mount. Sure it will. But as far as the form, good shape. Yeah, they come right out. But good flat surface. Good flat surface, those eyes will glue right in. Oh yeah. Yeah, nice looking deer. I'm tickled to death. Give me a chance to mount on something other than what I'm used to mounting on. I think I've seen that. Is there maybe old Dan Chase form or something? Not sure. Okay, there was a few staples still in the back. I hammered a lot of them back in. You know, to me that's easier than trying to pull them out. And it's getting a plaque behind it anyway, so. If you reuse eyes, you got to get all that old hard clay off of them. So I'll get a cup and put a little water in it, and just put enough to submerge the eyes, and let that soak for a few hours, and that clay will come right off. If you got a few little pins or something, like here's one. Sometimes you want to make sure those are out. I usually go a little bit deeper with my Dremel tool. Let's see. Not much deeper. Yeah, I tend to go deeper and not have so much of an opening. So I may build some of that back up with clay. I think I'll do that now while I got it upside down. Got a little bit of clay. In this case, it's critter clay. But what I'm going to do is build up that side lip where it's not so dug out. I do a better job on I try to do a real good job on my dremeling, I guess is the right word. And I could see where he, definitely, got that clay in there a little bit. Or the, where he put the, where he dremeled a little bit too much. Took a little bit too much off at one time. That's what I'm getting at. So I'm going to try my best to rebuild this back up. Make it look presentable again. Not that it wasn't before, but I got things that I'm a pet peeve about. Got a few little things I've got pet peeves about, I guess is the right word. And I'm using non-shrinking clay. I don't know if it matters, but I'm using the critter clay. So I'm hoping that helps a little bit. Now that looks good. It's built up like it was. There. Trying to make it kind of close to the way it was before it got, such a wide gap in it. Yeah, he put a pretty wide gap in it from, so he could Dremel it out real good, but I'm going to go on my Dremel tool right here and route all that out. I'm just used to doing it upside down, or right side up. But I'm going to do the other side the same way. Just kind of build up that mouth, a little bit. Okay, sandpaper or just something to break off this old material. You definitely use clay on one of those. Yeah, on the deer forms I use now, this isn't so indented in, so I'm going to take some clay and fill that back in. Basically, I want to make it like the forms that I like to mount on. Pretty much is what I'm doing here. I may do a little bit of extra Dremel work to the nose for the way I like to do them. And usually is a little bit of an indention, but not nothing dug out real big. So now that old glue that's on there, like in these grooves, that'll come off real easy. It's coming off already, but this is a straight, obviously. May fill in some of these tear ducts are like really dug in. Take some of that back out. Just a little bit too much dug out that I'm not used to having dug out, In fact, a lot of times I won't dig out the this part right here, the closest to the eye. Sometimes I don't even dig that out. As long as there's just like an indentation there, then I am tickled with it. So I will put some of this back in. Okay, right down here in the middle was a little bit of a crease. I like to go in from this angle because it's what it's like on the deer, like at that angle. I like to go in toward the frontal angle, like from right here. that's it. Now this glue will come right off. I'm not sure what kind of glue it is, but it's not like super good. And you can see it's coming right off. He did it like I did. I'll put the glue in the grooves more than anywhere else. You know, to hold in the skin inside those details. This is helping get the glue off. Just want to sand and block, sandpaper, anything, you know, get that old glue off. I'm not sure what kind of glue. You know, they used to use liquid nails and stuff in it. So it could be liquid nails. At least on the deer I mount on, I'm used to the top of the skull cap being even with the top of the head. So I'm going to give that a shot, see what it looks like. It's definitely a little bit more old school than I am. Yeah, that's a little bit different for me. That's probably what that's for, though, in some kind of wild way. But I think I'm going to remove all that and set the antlers. I'll get my saws off. And a good rule of thumb on pretty much every deer. You want to, like about the center of the burr to the back of the eye to be about 1 3/4 inches. And you can see we're right on it. So about 1 3/4 inches to the back of the eye. Maybe a little bit more, it's a big deer. And so that's kind of what I got right there. 1 3/4 inches to the back of the eye from the center of the burr. That's pretty much on. It tends to work out that way. Okay, I got me some Bondo mixed up. And I'm just going to plop that right on there. Probably more than enough. Basically like this. Get even with the skull cap. Make sure he's good and even, which he is. And you line the skull cap up, it's pretty good about everything else kind of lining up sometimes. So that helps. I want to make sure I hold it to get it good and like it needs to be. I consider the top of the head part of the skull cap. And when I set the antlers, I tend to go by that, you know. Okay, here's what I kind of got as far as the antler pitch. It's what I got where they look the best. Here's from the front, from the side. If you got any like empty spots, go ahead and fill them with clay. Especially if you think they might be noticeable or show, which it probably wouldn't, but like here's a hole, that's right there on top of the skull, so that's not going to show. But if you think there's a place that it may show, when we took the old hide off, we definitely, I'll show you me doing that real quick. Here's some serious dents. Let's see. Here's one right here. So, still get a little clay fill in there. Nobody's gonna know anything. A couple of bad places here and there. Even back here on the back of the head, it's got some bad spots. I'll probably get that later before I sew him up. But yeah, right through here, he's got a little bit of a place. I was digging in with a screwdriver and a knife and all that junk, and it did pull out some stuff, but it's a simple fix. Put a little clay on there and let it ride. And you're back in business. Yeah, I've seen those body details before. It looks like something Dan Chase might have had. You know, the newer forms, you know, you got some new ones. And the anatomy is really something else on them, you know. But these are still good old standbys. A lot of people like them, and they have repeat customers, so they're doing something right. And they're not bad looking. This makes a decent looking deer. It's just the body details are kind of outdated, I guess. I guess that's one way to put it. Yeah, if you want to refurbish, you know, reuse a deer head, this might be something like an semi-upright or something. Then, you know, the next season you've got your semi-upright to get started on somebody's deer with, you know. Because you'll eventually get somebody that has that size deer and they'll bring it in and you've got your form already. I used to carry a reference material for this, but the way I dig out, I dig up and then I dig up into here and back that way. So I dig up right here and then back that way. And I'm going to keep the anatomy of the nose as good as I can, and I'll show you what I mean. I'll go right up in here. And I'll dig all that out. Not exactly the way that I would do it, but you know, it was already dribbled out by somebody else. I'm going to dig out a cavity back up in here and right up in here, and then they sell nose casts that you can study. I guess they're called study casts. He dribbled out more than what I wanted. Which I guess for a regular person, they're not going to notice all that anyway. Use a little bit more clay to try to straighten up the nose a little bit. Give me a little super glue gel. Put right here. Seems you can do the trick for me. I want to make sure that people's level. Let's get super, super close. That is good. And obviously you got to hold it for a little while. Okay, we're going to put some eyes in this thing. The forms I use are not pronounced this much on the brow area, so I'm going to take some of that off. You know, not much, just a little. Okay. And of course, I'll show this a bunch. But let's see. Go right here, right there, all the way around. Roll me out a little bit of a worm, I guess you could say. And come in right there. Okay, then round, and then about where the back center of the eye is on the back, then I kind of get it off right there. So now we're gonna put some details on this eye, try to make him look a little better. Small screwdriver or something. I'll make it a little bit more to the side where you see it more from the side a little bit. That gives me a little bit of room too. So, okay, it starts and goes down right here in the front. Okay, it goes down and the lowest part is right back here, and then it comes up a certain way and meets in right there. So and it comes back up, and now the front, if you notice the way the deer was mounted, it was a real squinty kind of hide in front. And so I just that's pretty good, just like that. Sometimes I do a little brush or something and kind of work everything like it's supposed to be this way. And it's already kind of a good looking eye there. Around. And that's pretty much it right there. Pretty thin, thinner than what a worm would be. And then you just go around and put it in and try to get it not to stick to your fingers. Make sure they're wet, in other words. And then there you go. And I tend to smooth it out where it's not so noticeable back here as much as it is up front. So I tend to, yep, there we are. When you look at it from the front, it's not going to be so squinty-eyed like that deer is. It's got a little bit more of a realistic look to it. You know, the eyelid is coming kind of like off higher up, like towards the brow is. So that's kind of what we're after. But do the other eye kind of the same way. Okay, I usually put something on there to keep the eyes from coming out. So I got a little Mod Podge, do the Q-tip. You know, you can save on brushes this way. I just like the idea of a hard shell being on there to keep everything from coming apart on it or whatever. I'll just kind of help it out a little. This stuff has a lot of uses. There's one right here. Just keep the clay from cracking off. Which that killer glue is pretty good about letting that not happen. So that's good. Leaving this right in here, all this here. You know, it may be a little while before I get to the other step, in other words. Rebuild some of this down here. Mod Podge goes a long way, you know, keeping this stuff in, so. Just undo these screws and remember we broke the bond. Or I don't know if I showed that or not. Now get a knife or something up under there and I'll peck it with a hammer sometimes to help it out. And it just helps the rack break off from the piece of plywood that's under there. Put all my hide paste on there and then drape my cape over it. It's called McKenzie paste. It's says it works with dry preservatives, so it seems like it's a little bit different than some of the stuff I'm used to using. Okay, we're going on with the cape. That goes off real easy. The thing right here with a point on the end of it, it is real good for moving things the way you know they need to come. This needs to come down. That needs to come down. That needs to come down. Okay. Back on. So that is what we will do. Go ahead and put our rack back on. See where my holes are. Make sure it's in real good. Okay. I got some gaps, of course. I'm going to build them up with clay, like I always do. I want it to look like a natural contour. I'll even rebuild a ridge, you know, a cranial ridge right there. There again, I want to leave just enough space for the skin to tuck up under there. And that's pretty much it, you know. I'll go back with a screwdriver and make sure everything is in place real good. I put the ears in place. There's no places for earbuds on these older forms, but the eyes match up in the right place. It's a good fit. I made sure it was a, you know, I made sure the eye and the nose was, the capes that I had were close enough. Make sure they fit, you know. So, the middle is right down the middle, right here. So that's correct. It would be a bad idea to go ahead and put a couple staples there again. I may put a couple staples here. Now I'm going to turn him upside down and get the brisket area. I'll line him up real good. I'll try to keep as much skin as I can on the forms. It depends on what form you use, of course. Even him up so I know what's going on. kind of outline the skin with a series of staples. Go all the way out, all the way around, taking out any loose skin that might interfere with the, with the mount job, I guess you could say. That matches up pretty good. Right here. Put one right here. We have other videos on how to mount a deer head that show all this. Really, the only thing different on this is I'm using an old form that was used before. I tore the old cape off of it. I do like a twist technique right down here in the corner, I guess. I'll fold it over actually and get a good couple more staples in that way. And of course, you get your hammer, and tap them all in. I got a piece of screening material here. Cut it out. You get this stuff at Walmart, Hobby Lobby. They use it in crafts. Hobby Lobby is my friend in a lot of ways. Okay. Just to keep the skin from drumming out right there in that armpit area. They're real bad for wanting to do that. You just jab some pins in there. Yeah, and sometimes it is a little bit, a little entertaining to try out different forms. But there's also, I fight that temptation sometimes because I have been known to, get some really bad forms. Make sure you get down into that little indented area as much as possible to keep it from drumming. All this is going to be cut. It's already been stapled. But now, we kind of want to make sure we have no wrinkles in the skin and shoot some staples go through here on the side. Start at the bottom, work my way up, making sure there's no wrinkles. And this is going on a plaque, which is good. Let's see. I just staple around the extremity. I go in maybe half of an inch or so. Not much more than that. I want to make sure I'm not on the foam, but on the wood. So I go in a little bit closer. I don't even mind a loose fit, as long as the skin's not wrinkled. They're getting more of their deer back. You can see I'm going around the extremity and then I hammer them in just to make sure they ain't good. A lot of people got nail guns that shoot staples. And that, friends, comes in handy too. So I tap on these, make sure they're in good. Remember, all this is staples, so all this is extra skin. So we don't need it. I go ahead and cut that stuff off, Oops, some of these staples are coming out. Uh-oh. Staple gun's getting weak or something. There we go. Then I'll go back with more staples and staple all that up. Okay. We'll get that where it's kind of up and out of the way. Just staple the skin up where it's out of the way, and it'll dry like that. Okay, that comes off. This comes off. But I'll put them back in later. I don't even need pins. So, usually I pin around here because it's kind of a tight fit, but it's not tight right now. So basically, I'm going to use my glue headlock. So you can go around the eyes. Make sure the eyes are good and clean first, and don't have a bunch of residue on them. You know, like where I put the cape on. Okay, I got here the headlock hide paste, the 2-part epoxy. This is some real good glue, and I like it a lot. And it's kind of like the killer glue that they discontinued, and it's like the McKinsey hide paste extreme. I think I got some of that too. Yeah, I got 2 parts of this too, the extreme epoxy. They're both good stuff. McKinsey will build up if you put it on too thick. So you might want to be a little sparing with the McKinsey version. It's still good stuff though, but it will kind of pull up, kind of, if you put it on too thick. But basically, mix 2 equal parts of that in a little piece of cardboard bent up, and you want to make just enough to do the eyes and glue around the burrs so you can sew him up the back. And then I'll make a fresh batch for pinning the lips and facial detail. And that's the way I roll. I just do it two steps. So I mix 2 things of glue. Here I got the 2-part epoxy, 2 different colors. You know, the 2 different jars. And so we mix it up real good. Now we just start getting our glue and putting it around the eyes, on top of the clay. Make sure we get inside here. We get inside the tear duct itself. Go right in there. Make sure there's a little bit down in there, you know. There we are. Inside the tear duct here. Because a lot of times, if the glue will hold it, then I'm not going to use a pin. And it's quicker that way, you know. So, definitely go around the brow, around the eyes here, down here. Here the back inside corner of the eye gets it a little bit. And usually right down here I always put some on these deer. On the McKinseys it's a little bit more rounder underneath the brow here. But same thing, you know, you get all that in there. All this back here. this on the upper brow. And I definitely want to make sure it sticks. Here, the inside right in here, I don't know what you call it, but it goes up right there. That gets it. Oops. All up through here, gets it. Right into here. Basically, you want that glue already everywhere you pretty much want it. So when you pin it, everything is going to pin in place. Look good. Preferably no drumming. That's what the pinning's for. And not only that, I'll go all this right in here. It's going to get glue. I'm going to go around the burrs with it. All up through here. Going to get glue. Right into there, all this. Now, I don't always go up to the burr, but I get close enough that I know when I tie and squeeze the skin together, it's going to push that glue all the way up in there. I'll get that close. And that's definitely going to go all the way up. Up there. I go around the back of the burr, same thing. I want to leave enough gap for the skin. When I pull it tight, when I'm sewing, I'll be able to cinch, tie that skin around the bottom of the burr, and it's going to be a good tight fit. That's what we're after, good tight fit. And the glue is going to help things stay into place as it's drying. Now, I've got a lot of videos where I've showed me doing this, but just kind of doing it again, kind of so you get the idea. It's going to be close enough. It won't be exactly right up against the burr, but close enough that I know the skin, that I know the glue is going to, when the skin tightens up around it, it's going to match that glue right up against it. So that's more than good enough for me. That's pretty good about right there, actually. Okay, and of course you can see how I've done the eye there. Well, you do the other eye the same way. You glue up, you go around the burrs, and I'll show you what we got when we're done. I think I'm going to go ahead and put these wires back in the ears. kind of get everything sort of situated. And so I've got the glue on the eyes real good. And we're going to start putting stuff in place. And first step ought to be to probably go ahead and get this skin up over the eyes. Drape it where the birds are going to be. And I probably might go ahead and put these back for the ears again. Find my original holes. Put my stuff back in. With everything lined up real good, a lot of times I'll go right along the very top of I'll pull all that up so it gives you a little extra room to work with. And then I'll jab a pin in there. Go through the ear canal, kind of get it up, get things up out of the way a little bit. That's good. It's a good start. And it's going to be a good fit. It's not going to be a bad fit. Okay. Now I'm going to start pinning the eyes in place. You line the tear ducts up and the skin around the eyes, and it kind of mounts itself, if you know what I mean. I can show you a little bit from the front and a little bit from the side, and that will help out. Okay. Lift that up there. The inside corner of the tear duct, that's the first pin, is the inside corner of the tear duct. And I find it, and then I go to the inside corner of the tear duct on the form, and get right in there with my pin. Voila. Then I may go to, let's see what we got. I'm going to start modeling the skin around the eyes a little bit even. You know, nothing saying you can't do that. Okay, that goes around there like that. Okay, that goes like that. Okay. 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 Inside corner of the tear duct, that goes into its place, which is right here. Now, a lot of times I'll put holes in that tear duct area, but don't fret too much because I can pin the holes up and tuck them in where they're going to be kind of out of sight. And that's kind of what's going on here. Right in here. Okay, it's sharp enough to grab some of that skin. Okay, good, good, good. Looks like some of the hide paste, some of that glue come out right here. That's all right. It goes there, it goes there, it goes up there. Okay, got my modeling tool again. I'm going to try to shape these eyelids up a little bit and try to push things in place where they need, where I think they need to go. That goes there. That goes there. Let's see, that goes there. Okay. I like to mash this down right here. I like to get my general shape of the white around the eyes. I tend to like to kind of get that. I definitely want that around the eyes. That's just the way I've always done my deer. Have that little bit of white there, and then this wide here, I want it to not go back really per se. I want it kind of forward. Okay, leave that there, I guess. I'm gonna put one kind of right here. Keep everything in place. Okay. Here underneath, right in here. I'll tend to put one like right in here. Maybe another one right here. Down through here. If we want to keep that indentation in there, you know, which would probably just stay anyway. If it's a tight fit, it'd be more important, I guess you could say. Like right through here. Definitely, you know, definitely. There we are. Right there, I don't want it to draw here. There we are. Not a bad idea to put one. This is where everybody puts one at, right here. Right there where the eyelashes start. Yeah, right there where the eyelashes start. And that's usually good for keeping the skin from, you know, drumming away. And it doesn't hurt to put things around that eye if you need to. Let's see, that goes up like that. You know, like in the backside corner, you know. You can probably spread that out a little bit to, yeah, the backside corner. Well, this is what I kind of got so far, and you just kind of work on it as he dries. That helps. You know, make sure that white patch is spread out. You want the skin to cover your clay eyelids. And, yeah, I mean, if it's, you got to pin it in place, whatever it takes. Okay, I'm going to show you, like, what we got going on here. Well, let me take this out. Okay. All this glue that we put under the burrs, that's got its place. And I'll show you what we're going to do. Okay, I've got my wax thread, and I just run through it a little bit. Just maybe 2 or 3 inches on one side. But 3 to 4 looks like, but okay. Then what I'll do is, right here, you can see where the burr stops and the ear begins, if that makes any sense. But anyway, I go over from the top on the last hole. You can see, like when you skin the deer out, you're able to see, where to put your last hole is what I'm getting at. And that's the hole that you put your needle through, like so forth. Okay. Now, I just put that underneath. Well, try not to get no burrs there, but I try to get up underneath. And, even though I probably won't get it all together on that one, that's the reason why I put those holes further in. And then the next one, it'll be even a better fit because I'm stretching everything. So I'll go once. So I went over from the top on one side, went down over the top, through the top on the other side. I went from underneath over to the top, and then on the other side I went from the top underneath. Now I work on tightening everything together, and it's kind of going. Let's see. So I want to go all the way together. Huh. Sure. Okay, then you make another knot. Another couple of knots. And usually 2 is pretty good enough. Some people go 3. Then you snip off the excess. Preferably with it going down like that. But see, now I do the baseball stitch. Go up from underneath on that side. I go from underneath on this side. Boy, there's all kinds of glue on that here. Find the next hole right here. Pull up under that hair, even though it's got glue all over it. And shin stuff up together. And there we are. Okay, when I sew down a little bit more on this one side, then I will put an earbud in there. And yeah, that's going to be how we're going to do that. I try to make sure all the hair's out of the way that I can humanly get. It helps. It definitely helps. Pretty much every one of these I do. I'll do that to it. Depending on how tight the deer is, I might already be putting the earbud material in, which is just a little ball of clay. And sometimes I want those ear bases to show. And I will definitely, show that stuff. So, but we go there. And we go down to this one. Pluck out any hair. Draw it up. And that helps. Okay, grab another bite here. Right here, the next one down. Cinch it up. I definitely got room to put clay in the ears and everything, which is good. Okay, I kind of tied the tied it up on this one end and tied it a couple of times, and then you know. Now the other side, I'll go tie off right here at the very tip of the very tip of this. You know, I made the Y incision, went up behind the burrs on both sides. Well, the other one is going to be a little bit different setup. So that's kind of what we got going on. So I'm going to tie the other one and come all the way forwards and tie all this, go all the way down and tie all this together. So that's what my lovely job is. So that's what I've got to do. Yeah, I forgot to mention, I will put clay, you know, a good size. I try to eyeball it according to how big the deer is and all that junk. And may even have to mash it in a little bit to get a good fit on it and everything. Okay. And just try to eyeball it and put it back. If it was a Mackenzie form, where would you put it? And then I just try to kind of guess with it according to that. And a decent amount. And I may jerry rig around with that a little bit more. But now start sewing the other side. Yeah, also, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a place where the skin is coming out from back behind the burr. And I'm going to help it out. And how I do that is, well, right here it's doing it. I go in and pound in a screw with a good sharp point on the end of it. And let's see. Yep. Get this one of my screws with a good sharp point on it. Go towards the base of the burr, where I know I'm in the, you know, in the bone, not anything else but bone. And then I will that's good. Thank you. What that does, that kind of helps hold it up where it needs to be while that glue dries. And a lot of times the one's just good enough. Sometimes you got to put more than one. I think we're good with just one, actually. Start sewing him up the other end, then I go all the way around. I got a little bit of that ear base in there. So we're good. Now we do the other side. Do the same thing to the other side. Get the furthest one in. Right here would be this one. Okay. Go in. And go out to the last one, which is looks like right here. And then, okay. And we put that together. We cinch it up, tie around the back of the burr. Basically, sewing up the incisions we made when we, when we started on this guy. Then you give it another good couple of knots, you know. 1, 2, and then draw it together, you know. Couple of knots right there, it's going to hold. Nope, that's good enough right there. Key. And make sure it's out of the way. And then we start sewing. The baseball stitch. And I go all the way down to the end and tie off down here on the end. And that's how we do that. Okay, so we got here. Now we go here. And then we go up here, that one. I usually don't make more than a stitch or two, and I draw all that stuff together. Because it's trying to work against you anyway, and trying to, you know, kind of like break loose from you. So we've got that to contend with, you know. So really about every stitch, I will tie that sucker up. Tighten it up, good and tight. Go to the next stitch. Tighten it up, good and tight, you know. And we just keep going like that. Drawing it together, and you go all the way down the end like that. When we go down for a little further, we're going to be putting the earbud in pretty soon. Cinch that up. Okay. You go to the next one, which is this one. Cinch right up. Every now and then you can kind of like make sure you're getting, you know, tight. Sometimes I'll go through it again. And help secure it, draw it together, you know, a little bit better. Well, make it good and tight, you know. Just keep on and going. Didn't work. Okay. Yeah. Just make sure every knot's tight. Make sure the hair is out of the way as good as possible. Draw that stuff up. Go to the next one. Okay, got a little bit of ear butt material for the other side. Here again, I'm just kind of eyeballing according to the size of the deer. Sometimes I like a good, healthy ear butt. You know, it's not wrong for that ear butt to, you know, kind of show, you know. So I will put in quite a bit of ear butt material sometimes. You know, I have been known to do that too. Okay, it's in there. Let's see. I'll make sure it stays where it needs to stay. I kind of like that, actually. I like that just like that. I think that's what he's going to get. I think it looks good. Plus it shows off the rack, you know, because it's back a little bit. It kind of sewed him up. I'm going to put some gel on there and screening material. But I'm also going to show you, I kind of like how I mash the details in on them. You know, I've got some stuff I've used out there that you got plenty of time to work with. But I don't know about all of them. Like right in here, all this. She already had some good details. Looks like it's holding. You know, right in here. Good. You know, that McKenzie paste, pretty good stuff. Looks like. And you got one that going here. Got some different things going on down there. We got some stuff going here on both sides. Some massive details in there, you know. Might as well. If it's a good loose fit, you don't have to do much, you know, like pinning and all that stuff. You know, good, you know, if it's a good loose fit. But sometimes, you know, as with anything, they want a big, thick-necked deer, and it's up to you to deliver, you know. So you may run into that. And there is a little bit of pinning that's going to need to be done. At least on this one side, looks like. Okay. We got some details. Well, this deer's different. But I know he's got a whole bunch of some wild stuff down here. But I know he's got some stuff a little bit like Mackenzie. Right in here. Oh yeah, it's better to go ahead and use a roller to roll out these, like any air bubbles and stuff in there. That goes there. I don't want to get too carried away on the details because, yeah, there's a lot of details. It's just naturally in the form. And oh yeah, here it is. A lot of times this is the first thing I do. Get like air bubbles out, and you can hear the bubbles pop out of it. And I'll roll the sides and the back and everything, and roll all that real good. You can hear the bubbles coming out of it. You know, flattening out. So it helps. Sometimes more than at other times, but yeah, this Mackenzie hay seems to be pretty good stuff. You know, it seems to want to really hold. When we mash these details in, they're going to hold. They're not going to, you know, pop out per se, really. Well, there's a lot of details. I just don't want to, I don't like all those little striations and details. I don't care much for that. So I'll put a few here and there. And I know I like that down there. I see that on the Mackenzie form. That right there. Right through here's good, normal, you know. Now, although it's just holding kind of barely, but yeah, it'll dry that way, and the glue will stick. You're going to have some awesome details. What we got here, there's the eyes. Here's from the front. You know, not quite as, you know, squinty-eyed as the way he was mounted before. But now, I'm going to trim the lips and everything. And I've done this a million times before. But I'm going to do it again. And basically, I cut a lot of this stuff off. I almost go to the, almost to the hairline actually. So I take a lot of this off, in other words. Leave a little bit to tuck. And that's usually about it. Yeah, do this side that way. Cut quite a bit, but not too much. You know, I guess you can do that too if you're not careful. Which probably what you can do on scissors as far as cleaning up a lot of this stuff and getting it off. Like this cartilage can come off. Just a little extra bit of cartilage, you know. Okay, I think that's about good enough, maybe a little bit more, a little bit. Get all that thick meat out of there. There's a lot of thick meat in there. Got most of that out. Yeah, sometimes just a good old pair of scissors. Trim all that meat off out of there. Okay. Now we're going to go on the lips. Now, a lot of times where the hair coloration is different, I have been known to mark that a little bit. And I'll probably go ahead and do that now. There's like the center of the back of the inside corner of the lip. I will tend to mark that with a Sharpie pen. Nobody will ever see it anyway. So it's like right there. I'll just put like a dot. That's the inside corner of the lip, you know. They're pretty dang close, it should be. Yeah, right there. Where the color change is different. Get my good old scissors again. And I usually don't need a lot of this. I just, not much more than 1/4 of an inch really. And that's all I use. And as I get towards the front, I may save almost all that lip that's in the front because there's not much there anyway. But I'll trim the bottom too. And you don't need much, you just want to tuck it out of sight and let the glue do the rest. I don't even get all that heavy pinning or anything. And there's where the inside corner of the mouth is. So you can actually see it, in other words, when when you're working on it. So that's just something else to consider. Now you can trim quite a bit off those noses, you know. Okay, then we come around here. Maybe 1/4 of an inch or less, or somewhere in that range. Just enough to tuck out of sight. Yeah. I leave more on the inside corner of the mouth because it's a bigger place. And you can tuck a lot better back there, so you got more room to tuck, in other words. So I tend to leave more back there. Bottom lip. I leave just so much. I essentially don't leave much, but I leave enough that this will tuck out of sight. So now some people save this and they tuck up in there, but I don't worry about it. I just get some good pins and tuck everything into place. That looks pretty good. A lot of times right down here on the end, I will. Most people leave this and push this up with pins down into the, below the nose in that groove. But I will, let's go ahead and trim it off. Because You can almost just paint a lower lip in and nobody notice hardly, you know. But, I mean, it is noticeable though. But, okay, it's off. Right here in the inside corner a little bit. There we are. And now, we're getting trimmed up. Trim a little bit off right here. Yes. Just a little. There we are. And the upper lid is pretty much right here in the front. You know, it's all that space is going to be used for tucking. If it's a tight fit, you'd want to use a lot of that, but that looks pretty good. This don't need to be stretched out really, but I may do it a little bit. Okay. Pin this stuff out of the way. Put a pin there. I'll let that kind of revel back down there. Put another pin down here to keep things straight. Now I'll make some more fresh batch of glue. This is probably all hard. Yeah. Yeah, this is almost still a little soft, but it's pretty hard. Let's go ahead and mix some more of the two-part epoxy head grip. Just like we use on the antler burrs and everything, and around the eyes, and we're going to do the mouth now. My two-part epoxy, I'm getting these grooves. Get back in here. You know, there's a couple back there. I'll start like from farthest back and work my way out. It's just less messy that way. So, okay, there's the farthest out. Okay, we go back farthest all the way back. All the way back. Okay, that's pretty far. Then I get these grooves. One of these grooves kind of starts below the cheek of the eye. It kind of comes and goes, so it goes all the way kind of back there. And so I'll make sure there's plenty of glue back there. Come forward. So we got right there, right here. Of course, this right here. Try to get those veins to show up a little bit, you know. So I'll work the stuff there. And then of course right in here. Now we'll go the other side. Do it the same way. Start back as far as you can back. And start smearing that stuff. Okay, right around here, right around there. Make sure there's plenty on the end of his nose. like touching and stuff. I'm allergic to it. It breaks me out. But yeah, I'll go all around the nostril, of course. In here. In there. Right in here. And the bridge of that nostril, I'll put some glue on that too. You know, kind of built a bridge of clay right here. Right in there. Make sure that gets it. Gets it real good. And I can put a little up in here. I mean, it's going to be tucked up in there anyway. And so I'm going to be sure to get a little bit of glue up in there. And there in the bottom. Now you want it to hold good, so. There you go. And on the end of the nose here, make sure it's on there real good. Yeah, it's not bad. You know, you got one pin down here that was holding it back. You got a pin up here that was holding it back, kind of. Carefully put that forward. Okay. Now we're going to put the nose in, tuck it real good. And after the nose, we're ready to turn him upside down. I kind of find the nostril hole, and I may tuck in from the rear first. All this goes up into what we dremeled up into the nose. See how it kind of went up in there. Do the same thing to the other side. Get one of those, like right back in there in the corner. Okay. The farthest back corner of the nostril should be able to get it back in there. The back inside corner there. Here we are. So that black is supposed to be on the outside, not on the inside. So definitely. Here we are. And I want the nose kind of dish bowled around like this. Not like this. I want a little bit like that. Slightly. Okay, all this goes. Tucks up in there. Now this is where the reconstructing with the clay a little bit. It's kind of helping me out as far as this nostril. That's about how it goes right there. There's a white coloration that's inside the nostril, and you kind of want to make sure that it stays where it's supposed to be. You know, until it dries for a day or so. What I'll do is I'll let it dry for a day or so, and that is when I come back and stick some plastic. I like plastic better than pins. You know, pins will hold it until the glue dries and everything. And after like about 2 or 3 days before it gets real dry, I'll stick plastics in his nostrils and take the pins out. So that's kind of what the deal I got going on. See the way that the black padding kind of contours around the nostril? That's pretty good. And what I do to one side, I want it to be even right here. So I'm definitely got that kind of in my mind a little bit. The black around the nostrils is the same on both sides. Oh, that looks good. Need to be there. Make sure this nostril is good and even. You may have to mess with stuff a little bit. Let's see what we got here. Okay, that's definitely. Okay, that's going to have to work. And after it dries for a few days, then I'll come back and I'll be able to do more with that. Now we're going to turn them upside down, put glue in those grooves and tuck those lips. Glue again. And I'll just put it on the outer side. On the inside of the groove, I'll put on the side. I'm going to tuck the upper lip first, in other words. You know, I never did really dremel that out good. What am I saying? Okay, I usually do this when I first start dremeling out, but for whatever reason I didn't get to it. But basically, right here, the inside corner of the mouth, I like to dremel that out a little bit more. You know, that way I got room to tuck. And I'll do the same thing on this side. Put more of that glue back up in there. Make sure it's good and in there. Yeah, there we go. Probably spun out a lot of that glue, I'm sure. Okay. Let's turn it back down and make sure Got plenty of glue in there like you're supposed to. Like I'm going to tuck the upper lip first, so the outside lip is going to get the glue down in the groove where it's going to be tucking. Yeah, this glue gives you plenty of time to work, but you know, if something happens and you have to take a long time for some reason, then you're a lot better off, you know, doing it, doing a little bit at a time, making glue up as you go. I've got me a little system down that I'm tickled to death with, so it works for me. Okay, that's the upper lip. I know the center of the lip is like right here. Inside corner of the lip right here where the black dot is. I know to put it right there. It's definitely easy fit because the grooves are so wide, unfortunately. On this side, the same thing. So where the black dot is, that tucks right in the inside corner. There's no mistaking that. It goes right in there out of sight. And all this right here, it goes in. And all that goes in like that. Pretty much don't have to use a whole lot of pins really almost. That's pretty even. One right down here in the front. And coming to the top, so and right here on the side. Okay, bend those out a little bit. There we are. Okay, they're holding. Now a lot of times I use the ones with the little yellow balls on them. Sometimes you can. See, goes pretty good. Trying to be uniform when I'm doing everything. When I'm putting everything back, I'm kind of uniform with it. So let's see, we go down the inside corners here. I push the lip just outside. You know you can't go wrong when you do that. So the lip is just outside. A lot of times I will go back to the back ones now, and that's where I'll use these big ones with the round heads. And I'll grab the inside corner. And it doesn't hurt to put a little bit of clay back there. This didn't have any. I didn't think about it, but you see how far that's going in though? That's plenty good enough. Now you can actually use the ones with the yellow balls, really, if you want to. You just push that lip on the inside, just out of sight. You know that tucked in pretty good, though. And the good thing about these pins, they bend real easy. This comes in very handy. Whatever you do on one side, do it on the other, so it matches up, you know. Just make sure that lip is just out of sight. I try to make sure these are uniform if I can. That black, you know, where it comes up. I try to do that. That looks pretty good. There we are. Now we get more of our glue. See, this is good and even on both sides. That's great. Everything looks pretty well even. Put more glue on the lower. Put it low enough where I know when I push that skin in there, when I tuck the skin down into the groove, it's going to take the glue with it. So that's why I do that. And okay, start at the back, of course. All that's going to have glue. The skin is going to tuck real good right there in that back corner. Okay, that's going to tuck real good. Put it right there on the edge of where it's going to go in. That way I know when I push the skin in there, it's going to take glue and all down in there. I'll show it better on this side. Get about right there. Yeah, that will go. Bend that out a little. There we are. Right here on the corner, before it tucks down. Kind of get an idea of what I'm doing here. I'll let the tucking process go ahead and carry my glue down in there, and it's neater that way. Get in here, out here on the outer corners. There's like an indentation here on the inside of the lips. I'll make sure there's plenty of glue there. Right here, there's like a dip right here. Make sure that gets it. Right in here. Right in there. Right in here. Yeah, this inside part right here is, it's like the skinny part of the lip. And I like to make sure there's some in there. And that's pretty well got it for me. And now we're going to start tucking the lower lip. What I usually do, I want to make sure that there's no pins going to stick in the way. In other words, it's got to kind of thread through a little bit. Some of these pin heads and stuff that I got. It should be able to. There's like a little skinny spot. And you want these black hair patches go right in front of that skinny spot. And then we get two long pins, and I'll get one on one side of the end of the lip, one on the other side. I'll make sure it's covered through, and then I'll bring it down. And I don't want to jab through the bottom of the nostril area, so I will go in an angle just to make sure these lips are set. Okay, there's a skinny part on the lower lip, and definitely want those on the inside of that. And a little bit of tucking, I think. Okay. Make sure these little black spots or black patches on the side of the lower lip are in the same spot, you know. And start pinning them bad boys up. Yeah. Now we're in business. Okay, whoops. Oh, these big pins really get the job done though. And there again, I like to go just out of sight. And that is, it just looks better if you don't go too deep with it. So that's why I'm doing that. It's just out of sight, so it's in good shape. You want to make sure these hair colorations are right. These little black things on the side, you want to make sure they're right, and they are. So now, our goal is just to push that stuff in. Okay, just out of sight. Just grab the corner of that lip and tuck it out of sight. It's good enough. Okay. Right here, tuck it out of sight. There we are. See his lip a little bit right there? Tuck it out of sight. Let me just make sure he's... Uh-oh. Yeah. There. There are good enough. Now we're going to turn him back up. Match the facial details in. We'll do that right now. Okay, now, we got all that glue, if you remember correctly. Well, all that glue's on his head underneath. And I'll let that white right, there's like one bottom detail. Tends to be the same on all the deer. I tend to let that ride there. And I think there's something else up here. This is an older form, but basically you see those details and you mash them in with, and that glue is going to hold it, see? Okay, we got that glue around the nostrils, you know. We got glue there, we got glue here. We got glue here. That's those veins, you know, and everything. And this rides up all the way. Okay, this gets mashed in good. I usually use my thumbs right here. Of course, arthritis is acting up though, so that's not helping. Now there's them veins. I'll try to get those veins to stick out if I can. You know, go below those veins. And, you know, they go there. Above the veins, they go there. Kind of use my fingers, try to run them in where they'll show. I think there's more right there. Not too familiar with these forms, but I'll try to use those veins if I can, you know. Now here underneath, you got like a skinny spot right back there, right about here underneath. And it also kind of tucks up a little bit right there, you know. So I want to incorporate that in there. Detail right here. Right there at the very bottom. And there's another one, I think, right in here. All this is maybe the hide paste. I think I've used some of that hide paste, I think, back there. You know, the stuff for the body, you know. Right there is cheeks. Those lower cheeks, you know. If I can get those to stand out, I will, you know. Kind of like that. Actually, looks pretty good to me. And he'll do the same thing as the other year. Call it good, let him dry for a few days. Here's what he looks like from the front. It's gonna look okay. Definitely a lot better than he did. Okay. Now my trick is going to be getting the other ear doing the same thing. Okay, I may have to, hopefully the glue is set up good enough. I can undo this one screw because it's kind of in the way. But I think there's been enough time between then and now that it should be holding anyway. So I'm going to kind of unscrew it back out. It's holding, so I'm not going to touch it. I want the other ear to do the same thing. We got to do one more thing. Almost forgot. I'm going to staple the back of this, but I need to use some hair gel first. What I like to do, make sure it's good and sturdy, and it is. Okay. Let's get some good, strong hair gel. And I kind of want to place the hair in a way that it's not going to show the seam much. And let it dry that way, if you know what I mean. And now I've got my knitting material here, my mesh. They got it in the craft section, and I'll start putting this stuff on. Make sure the stuff looks okay. And it does, for the most part. My goal is to make sure that where I sewed him up does not show, if at all possible. Alright, that's messing him up pretty good. That's gonna be good and messed up pretty good, just like that. Well, that's gonna hold him. Good enough for me. There we are. Okay. Now he's ready to dry. He's pinned and he's ready to dry, so we're just gonna leave him and let him dry. And I'll see you in about in a week for sure. Whether he's going to be done or not, I doubt it. But I'll see you in about a week. Usually after just a few days, like a day, or just enough time for the glue to dry, I will start pulling the pins out. And the reason is, I basically wanted the pins in there to hold the skin in place while the glue was drying. But now that the glue is dry, I'm not worried about any of that. So, in other words, the skin should still be soft enough that I can mash the pinholes out. And I don't know, I may have let it dry too long. Being a truck driver, sometimes it's hard to get back in off the road. I'll do the best I can. Ideally, I'll let the glue gun pull the pins out pretty much while the skin's still damp enough that I can mash the pinholes out. And then I stuff paper towels in them holes to make sure the holes are good and wide and anatomically correct like they're supposed to be. Yeah, these pins, when that skin dries, if you don't move the pins, sometimes it'll leave a hole. Sometimes it won't. You just, just kind of flip the hair a little bit and it disappears. But sometimes those holes are going to show. I use these big pins. May not have been the brightest thing to do for the nostrils, but it kept everything the way I kind of wanted it to be, so that helped. It helped in that respect. Just pull these bad boys out. And let's see what we can do with these nostril holes. Oh yeah, they're covering right up. Oh, that's great. What happens is, the pins hold the white hair patches where they need to be. Sometimes if you're a little off on your hair, you can fix it with a little bit of paint, like when you're painting inside the nostril. But if I can keep things kind of correct anatomically, that helps to not have to worry about mashing pinholes in and stuff. That comes in handy. Goes down, that's right, that's like that, that's like that. Plus I put a little glue in there. So basically, now mash the pinholes down where the holes aren't going to show for the most part. Actually, it's working really good, so. Now I'll go ahead and start mashing some plastic bags. I like bags better than paper towels. I got used to using plastic bags, and so I don't want to deviate now. So what I'll do is I'll usually tuck in up there, all places that I dremeled, there and in the back. And you can see it needs to be in there, so. And I took quite a bit. I surprised people how much of this stuff. I mean, I go in pretty good. I want to make sure I cover up what we dremel. And it matches the skin, helps match the skin where you want it to stay. I let it dry a little bit too much, I think, but it's still good and damp enough. I flicked over those holes with my brush and just kind of brushed the hair over. And skin was still soft and pliable, so that helps. And so, all that being said, everything is good. Then you just get a pair of scissors. Cut it off. Try not to cut no nose hairs. whiskers, I mean. Going to cut whiskers, keep from it. And just keep a little control. Not have bags everywhere. Make sure it's in there good, and it is. Just mash it in that first hole. Up towards the front, that's where all my dremeling is. And a lot of times I will dremel through by accident, but needless to say, it's kind of thin right there. Well, it's about the width of that cartilage that you cut, when you're fleshing him out. That cartilage is thin, so you figure it's easy to dremel too far over. And I do. It doesn't bother me. But you go in, kind of upwards and towards the back, like right in here. That's how I do it. And I tend to go here and route out real good, go up into there. So I have a kind of an open nostril. But I think I showed in my video, and study casts come in real handy for this kind of stuff. See how that bag's just going in there. It's going everywhere I want it to go. Everywhere I dremel. So I have a nice, good, wide nostril. All the hair coloration is going to be in the right place because I let it dry for a little while first. I have started pushing plastic in, moving the skin over and everything. So I'll let the glue dry first. I've learned to do that. It just seems to work out better for me. I think most people do it while they're mounting. Whatever works best for you. If I can keep the hair where it's at, I'll throw pins on it and come back the next day or even the day after that. Which is what happened here. I had to wait actually like 3 days. But he's still going to come out good. So let him dry the rest of the way. You'll get that. And a lot of times while I'm drying over the next day or so, sometimes I'll go back through and mash in these eyebrow details a little bit. If the skin allows it. Depending on how hard and dry the skin is. But I can actually go back and, mash these details in a little better, but they're good anyway. They're definitely already good. We're good on that. Something else I can do, since it's already dry enough, his ears are good and stiff. Yeah, they're good and stiff. I'll just go ahead and pull these wires out. I mean, they're not doing any good. Plus you can kind of, where the wire was at, you can kind of control that hair still where the skin's not completely dry. And, so that's something else we're doing. Well, this skin will kind of bend a little still where it's not super dry. And we can get that down well. Yours are in place, so that's where they're staying, looks like. Some of the pins around the eyes, all this can come off now. And just a quick brush or something, and you'll never see those pinholes. So let me go ahead and get those out. There's a lot of times I use a toothbrush or something, but a lot of times they're not showing anyway. These little pins are real good for not leaving holes, noticeable holes. So they are a lifesaver too. Sometimes these are all I use on the mouth of a deer. If you do a real good job with your dremeling, then sometimes that's all that shows. And I've got one more deer besides this to do, as y'all have noticed. When I get them both done, I'll show you what they look like. I'll get back with you in about a week or so. Oh, well, a few more days. And we'll be pulling those pins out. Well, here's the other buck. He looks really good. I'm going to let him dry. These are straights. Both of them are straights. Some of the lumpiness in his face will disappear. You know, it will go away after he dries for a little while. So, but I'll get back with you here in a couple of weeks. And I'll just probably finish one out. But you'll know that they're both done. I'll show both of them when they're done. But I'll see you in about a week. Okay, it's been a few weeks. This deer's definitely ready. The other one's still drying. But I just start pulling all the pins out. He's good to dry. Now I've already pulled some pins out, you know, like around in here. And ooh, there's one that doesn't have a head on it. That's a good one to get out before I forget it. Okay, that's gone. Yeah, they're just coming out real easy, like down here. Of course, I took them out of the nose already, you know, like a day or so after it was mounted. It just keeps everything. I know the skin's going to be staying in place, so I let it, I guess, semi-dry, I guess is the right word. I'll go ahead and get these out, and also all this plastic can come out. And, oh, look at that, real nice looking nostril. Good and even on both sides. The plastic, I like plastic better than paper. A lot of people use paper, like paper towels. I like plastic. Well, it slides a little bit. It's got a little bit of a slickness to it, and you can really get that stuff up in there and get it to do what you want it to do. So, on these little, a lot of times on these, I like to spin them a little as I pull them off. Either that or grab the shaft, because you'll lose all your pins. You won't be able to reuse them because you'll pull the yellow balls off the ends. So I've learned either try to spin it a little bit, twist as you pull, or just grab the shaft. That way you kind of save on your pins so you don't mess all your pins up. But I'll do that and I'll get back with you. Also, these pins down here can come out. I'm going to just pull them out. There we are. Okay, I got like a screwdriver or something, and I'll pluck these out. Needle nose on this one looks like. And there we go. Kind of like around his eyes. Well, I got a lot of dry preservative on this guy. And so I spent a lot of time getting that stuff off. I should have made sure the eyes were a little bit cleaner on this guy. This side's not so bad, but yeah, I use a fine brush on my face. You see all that stuff coming off of him. Went a little excessive with it. Now this is just a start. I'll use the airbrush and blow a lot of this stuff out of his ears a little bit later when I get ready to paint him. I use this on the head, get all this stuff off. Sometimes even a wire brush comes in handy getting some of this stuff off. You can see that stuff just coming off too. And the eyes. Side of the ears. Even the back of the ears. brushes really get that stuff out. Sometimes a big brush is all you need, but a lot of times it's not. And I'll just let this thing dry real good. Maybe a little bit of lacquer thinner on a Q-tip. And soak this thing down for a few minutes. They kind of help weaken that glue a little bit. Work on that for a few minutes. Okay, I just come out with my X-Acto knife. You know, whether you use a blade, it's nothing spectacular. Get in there and cut all this stuff off. I rarely let my eyes get this dirty anyway, you know, while I'm mounting the deer. But just scrape all this glue off. And hopefully the eyelashes are down when it dries. They tend to pull up a little bit. So it's good when you mount it to make sure they're kind of low, lower than what you expect they should be. And as it dries, I'll draw them up a little bit. That's the way I've been doing it. Good thing these glass eyes tend to not want to scratch real easy. They'll get the glue off first before the glass will scratch. Although I have on occasion accidentally scratched them. Get ready to, we'll clean the nose off a little bit and then we'll apply the epoxy sculpt. And basically what I'm going to do with the epoxy sculpt, fill in the gap between the glass eye and the skin. You want to fill that gap in. Sometimes there's not much of a gap. You know, that means the glue held real good and everything. Sometimes you got a hefty gap for whatever reason. Now the nostril looks really good. I just get a dry Q-tip and get some of that dry preservative out of there if I can. You know, maybe blow dry it with an airbrush or something. I just want to make sure all that's out of there. There wasn't no cotton in there either. Sometimes I'll get my toothbrush and sometimes that kind of helps me out a little bit. Sometimes around the mouth here, that dry preservative, you can see it still build up a little bit. And I can see it on there. The camera probably can't pick it up, but I can see it. And I just get it off with my toothbrush underneath the whole head, you know. We're going to start using our epoxy sculpt and start sculpting in around the eyes and everything. Basically any separation from the skin from the eye, I just do that. I try not to take away from the shape of the eye the way I like it you know, at all or anything. Same with the nostrils. So I got my 2-part epoxy sculpt and I just mix 2 equal parts together. And I tend to use lacquer thinner with it to really thin it down and make it almost pasty. That way I can put it where it needs to go. 2 parts. I usually just mix a little as I go, but you don't have to, but I like doing it. 2 equal parts. One's lighter colored, one's darker. And I get my lacquer thinner, spray on there, start mixing it real good, and just keep doing that. Keep mixing it real good, make it good and thin, almost like a paste. Almost like a paste. Still got a little bit of hardness, thickness to it, but you see I'm kind of working it down right now. It's about where I want it. I add just a little bit more here. I'll make a little pool in the middle and then just start mixing it together. The lacquer thinner thins it down real good. Makes it real good and workable. I'll use a mauling tool. In my case, I'll use an X-Acto knife. It does a good job for me. In any place where there's like a gap in between the skin and the glass of the eye, I'll put this stuff. I want to make sure I don't, take away from the shape of the eye. And I'll just, there was a little bit of gap between the skin and the glass of the eye. And so I just, sometimes you may not have it, sometimes you do. And you just fill in. Same with the upper lid. If it's separated, go ahead and throw some little epoxy. The eyelid sometimes is not really up against the eye. A little lacquer thinner on it again. Try to kind of smooth things out. And it will help you smooth the epoxy sculpt out. And now I use my X-Acto knife and literally cut out what needs to be cut out. It goes down. Sometimes, even when I'm putting up this stuff on, I'm considering the shape of the eye a little bit, just to make sure I do things the way they're supposed to be done. And it looks pretty good. Maybe make another pass or two with epoxy sculpt. With the lacquer thinner. Make sure everything's like it's supposed to be. This stuff does set up pretty quick. So, in fact, you don't have to wait for it. You can paint right over this. You don't have to wait for it to get, get dry or anything like that. It's ready. Right now you can paint over it and you'll be fine. That looks pretty good. That's the overall shape of the eye. I'm good with it. Now there's kind of like a hole down in here, and to me that don't look too natural. So just right in here, the inside corner of the eye there. So I will put some epoxy sculpt there, just to kind of smoothen it out, make it look more natural. And again, with my Q-tip, I'll get in there and work on making that look as natural as possible. Put a little right there. Q-tip. Smooth it off as good as I can there. Yeah, the inside corner of the tear duct you know, I don't want it too smooth, but I don't want it too, I don't know the right word, but smooth transition's the right word. And I'll even sometimes take some of it back out of here. Okay, that's about right. Every deer might be a little bit different, depending on how good of a job you do mounting it, but you get the idea there. Just a smooth transition there. See a little bit of like a pinhole or something there. Right there. Bingo. There it is. Didn't take much at all. Q-tip again. Smooth it off and we're in business. A lot of times I shoot a little bit of paint in there, darken that up right there inside the tear duct area, and take care of that. Well, that's how we do that. And of course the other eye the same way. This looks pretty good. Usually there's always a little bit of a hole, and I'll get way up in there. It's kind of deep. I got it where it goes kind of deep. Alright, get me Q-tip with lacquer thinner on it again. Get up in there, mash it up in there and cover any gap or hole or anything. Get it in there and I like that depth. The depth looks really good. It looks natural on these deer. Now we're going to do the nose. Sometimes there's a gap underneath the mouth, and I may use some of that, but that looks pretty good. It looks like skin meshed up against skin, so we don't have to worry about that. I got more of my epoxy sculpt, and a lot of times I'll make like little worm-like things on there. Sometimes I'll do it like this. The main thing is to get it on there. And kind of hard. A little lacquer thinner on my glove, and I can smooth this stuff out. What it is, I'm going to go over this with a roller. It's going to make all the little nodules and stuff. That was kind of a big thing around here for a while. Now a lot of them are using the epoxy sculpt and putting little, you know, it's like a little needle or something, and it puts out a perfect little, like nodule. And that's the newest thing that they're kind of doing now, I've noticed here lately. So things sometimes change like that. I'm sure a lot of people still use the old nose roller. I do. I remember when it kind of first come out. It was kind of a big thing there for a while. Everybody started really using it. You know, a lot of times in the corners, I do use my Mod Podge on a little brush. And nowadays they use Mod Podge on like needles and make individual nodules. That's what I meant to say. But I'll smooth it out and get it as uniform as I can. It may take a little while. You're basically smearing that stuff everywhere you think it needs to be. And you can put too much on. You definitely want to go light with it. You don't want to go heavy with it. You don't want to mess up the deer's profile or anything like that, you know, so. I've got like a nose roller, and a lot of times I'll just douse it with lacquer thinner. You know, you don't want stuff sticking on it by any means. And you don't want to go too heavy. Just light. That's even a little bit too much right there. But you get the idea. Some here on the other side. There you go. Some people just use this stuff all together. I may continue to put a couple of nodules, you know, just to blend everything in, make it look more realistic. I want to make it good nodule, yeah, like that. Right here is just bare skin. I don't let it fret me none because I'm going to put nodules there anyway. It's just not going to be with the roller. Let's see, there's a good spot for one. There's a good spot for one. There's a good spot. There's a good spot. There's a good spot. Here's a good spot. And, you know, I kind of blend it in better that way. It makes it more realistic. Although some people just use the roller and they're done with it. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to look at that go. That looks pretty good to me. Okay, we got a little empty spot. I don't know if you can see it, but like right here, like where the skin kind of pulled away from the burr a little bit. And what I'll do there is I'll just snip a little hair off the back in roughly the same place where it's colored like this. And then just glue it in. And it just seems to work. People don't seem to notice that much. And basically what I do is I'll go around the back of it. Try to find a place where here's kind of reddish like that. And I just get me a little bit of what I think will be enough. Snip it off on the ends. I got a little Elmer's glue here. I'll just put a little on the ends there. And then I get a screwdriver or something, kind of pull back on it a little bit where I can get a good shot. And then I dab it down in there. Like that. And then I'll kind of let that dry a little bit. And the Elmer's will dry clear anyway. And then I snip it off. You can see where I put it on. And you really can't tell it. You can leave it, or even a lot of times I'll just snip off where it's a little bit lengthy or something. And I snip it a little bit. I have even put a little bit of rich brown in that area, but you see how it kind of fixed it up real nicely. And that's what you got to do. Now we're going to finish it out. I use a little base coat sealer over everything. A little bit of base coat sealer. Here's the paint, something to clean too. I'm going to go back with white. I got white here. I'm painting the inside of here. Some people don't, depending on how hairy their ears are or whatever. Everybody's got a little bit different way to do that, depending on how hairy the deer's ears are. That makes a big difference. I'll come in and I can see a little bit where it's kind of lost some color. You know, right here it's a lip liner. So I add the color back in. I just add more white. Where it was white before, I just reinforce it with white again. Even up here on this, I do it. The other side the same way. I like to even get inside the nostril. Pressure on my airbrush up a little bit high. But if you remember, you know, the deer have like a little bit of a white patch inside their nostrils here. The good reference picture shows this stuff. It shows where the white is. The white kind of goes around right up to where the nostril is. And of course it's down in there pretty good. I'm going to whiten everything up in there. And it comes around. And it goes up in here a little bit. Not so much right there. Make sure that's white. This right here is white. Bottom lip up to the lip line is nice and white. It tends to get kind of a little bit faded out, I guess you could say. Make sure my ears are white. Now, I will go to like, this is off white, but I'm going to add just a little bit of natural flesh is what I like to add. Kind of blend in around the eyes a little bit. And it's just the way I've been doing it. Everybody kind of gets their own way. Some people don't even worry about this stuff. Some people don't worry about putting much paint on the deer. But I put enough that I think that it's going to be a close match to what's already there. And I'm talking about this color, like around the eyes. I want that kind of fleshy color. And I've got it. Very, very close. And I'll add a little bit more lacquer in there. Put my finger over it again and let it bubble up and mix real good. I may even go down with my airbrush. It is extremely stout. Get that thing down to about right now it's right at about 32, somewhere in that range. What I do is some dead parts around the eye, I'll widen it back up. Try to blend it in where that looks so dead looking. And get a little paint on the eye, of course. Maybe that's going to happen. That's a pretty darn good match. You can see that's a pretty good match right there. Get it right here where it's kind of a little bit dead looking around the eyes there. If you got a lot of nicked up skin, like where the deer was a fighter, and he's got a lot of nicks around his eyes, this stuff really helps blend in those bad areas. Makes them a lot less noticeable. And now I've got my rich brown. It's a good color, like you got like white spots around the birds or something. We'll get a rich brown, you know, it matches that here first. You can blend in stuff where it's not super noticeable. Add a little bluish there. A little bit of rich brown. Nobody knows nothing, you know. Sometimes around the ears, depends on the deer. But I'll bring some of that rich brown back in, you know. Because it's supposed to be there. So. Bring that back in just a little bit. Around the eyes especially. Even place where I put that white earlier, just put a little bit of rich brown and kind of bring stuff back in, actually. It's not a bad thing to do. You know, you can make it look like it's not been painted, you know, by adding your rich brown accordingly. That's good enough for me. So, you know, sometimes there's places around the nose I can see rich brown in there anyway. So I may add a little bit more to make it look good. Now we go to dark brown. But I'm going to clean the eyes off first. And now I got my dark brown. And probably get my nose first. I can see the outline of what's white for the nose, so I just follow my outline. Might have to hit it from multiple angles. Those nodules, believe it or not, you've got to hit them at multiple angles sometimes. Or it'll be unpainted on one side and not the other. See the outline. Just follow that outline all the way around. Try to do a neat job with it. Because I'll get a brush. Paintbrush, preferably. You go inside the nostril. What I'm going to do is get the farthest part back in there, the part that's the deepest, and it's way back in here and upwards again. Right back in here. And you want to be able to see it from, you know, the outside. So all that, I'm painting all that back in there, and then as it comes around to the outside, it gets to the very bottom. See, it looks almost like a shadow. And that's what you're trying to create, kind of a shadowy effect. That's pretty good, and maybe put a little bit of, shade this all, you know, kind of give a little bit of realism to everything. Not too dark. The deepest part gets dark, gets black. Right down here, this lower, dark part on the lower on the lower lip here. I'll go ahead and do it. And then tilt them a little bit so I can get that lower lip. Well, what I'll do is accentuate that. But you get the idea. And that is where I go ahead and then paint the lower lip. And of course, paint all this up in here. Sorry, I know I'm in the way. Kind of what we got. Then you might trim it up with a brush if you want to, like you did. Got too raw with the paint, you know. Sometimes this helps blend everything back in a little bit. Then the eyes, before I do the eyes, I'm going to clean his eyes off because he's got a lot of white on it. And I don't want no white rings showing or anything. And to me it's just easier just to clean them off now. And then if I put the dark brown and overshoot a little bit, it's not going to matter because his eyes are dark brown anyway. It's not going to show that much. And the order way you do things is all up to you. Sometimes I don't do the eyes next. Sometimes I do the ears. Just whatever you kind of work out for yourself. And you're happy with it. I flatten the end down with my finger. What that does, it allows me to get further back up in there. And I'll get a little lacquer thin on my Q-tip. Maybe roll it one time. And because I flatten the end, I can get further into these corners with it. And around the eyelid's going to get dark brown anyway. But I don't worry a whole lot about accidentally getting it, but I do try not to. I get the eyelashes real good. Eyebrow hairs, eyelash hairs, and all those little eye hairs. Right in here, all these hairs. These up here. Where I flatten it out on the end a little bit, I can get further down into the eye before I have to give up. Yeah. I mean, before I have to get up with a Q-tip. Now I just scrape the paint off with a sharp X-Acto knife blade and call it good. I'll show you what I mean. Probably can't see it too good. Probably can right here, I hope. You can see how just I'm going down with it. Get all that stuff off. Here around the eye, I will strip all that dead paint off. And comes up super easy. Now, when you use dark brown, it'll cover all this up anyway. It's just I prefer. What it is, it's just the overspray. You know, where I put white and flesh around, white flesh and rich brown around the eyes. That's all I'm scraping off around the corners there. I usually paint like down in the inside of the ear, then I'll come out with three like colorations that look like Mount Mead. You know, it's detailed. It'll go out about here, it'll fade out. It's not real heavy anyway. It'll go there to fade out, there to fade out, there to fade out. Then I'll darken the outer edges of the ear. Definitely didn't try the ear. No, real good. Sorry, I have to look. I kind of want to be accurate with it. And we got one down here. Now go around the outer edge. Maybe add a little bit of color in there. I definitely want to hit the outer edge. That is a tried and true, good looking detail to have that up there. Use your toothbrush and run and fix some of this stuff up where it looks a little better. Maybe. You get the idea. Then you do the other ear the same way. Comes up through there. Okay, got one there. And you got one here. Alright. I'm going to get here and add a little of your little black trim in there. That looks pretty good. Yeah, if you got any places where there's a little bit of hair loss, dark brown like on the back of the ears or something, it will fix that too. I've got my dark brown. I got a real fine string. And what I'll do is I'll tend to make there's a little place in front of the eye. I tend to try to get that. And what I'm doing now is darkening the black spot. It comes off the upper tear duct, it goes like up towards the upper brow wrinkle. So that's what I do is I kind of up there. And I want to go dark with it. And down here it goes down. There we go. You see what's going on there. It's easy to over-darken it. I don't want to over-darken it. Not like that already is good. Get around the eye. Cover up some of that toxic silk I put on there. A lot of times, around the eye, you got a little bit of a, like an outline, but it's kind of dark. So I'm going to kind of bring that in. Some people will even shade a little bit. I wouldn't get carried away with this because it will darken the eyes up considerably. So I make a little back there, a little up the top, all around here. Whoops. And sometimes it wants to really come out. That's good enough for me. And that's almost too dark anyway. You can also come back with your toothbrush. If you don't like something, it tends to be, you can take it off. There. So that don't look bad. You can make it where it's not so pronounced. You don't want to start. Bring the details out, kind of angle spray a little bit, seems to help. But that's how you do it. If there's any bad spots on the body, a little bit of bare hair or something, it'll even help with that a little bit. Go ahead and clean the eyes off again. I may roll my Q-tip, douse some mic there, I may roll it one time. And the reason I'm cleaning them off now is I want the most shine I can get. And if it's covered in a layer of misty brown paint, You're not going to get that good shine. So that's why I do it. And as always, I end up being in the way of the camera. Because the camera's right where I need to be. I'll clean the eyes off. You look kind of good just like that, but I'll go ahead and throw some gloss on there also. And I got my clear gloss for the good application, good wet look. You want to go super heavy. You don't want to go super heavy the first time, but I don't let it bother me too much. That's on a good wet look. Good wet look inside those nostrils. Down here, the bottom part of the tear duct, I like it wet. Inside fully the tear duct, high. Let's make sure everything's getting wet with me. Can't go wrong. If the nose is wet, I may go over it again. Other eye. That corner of the tear duct, around the eye, inside the eye, good and wet looking. Lower lip. Sometimes even along the lip line a little bit. And there she goes. I put one of the holes back. It had like 3 holes, like a V. I think this is the original pipe that came on it. I could be wrong. But I'm trying to kind of adjust it. I've only got 1 screw in it actually. It's semi-tight, I guess you could say. But I think it goes about right there. I may even break out a measuring tape. Just to make sure I get him even on both sides. I'm sure it's been good and tight, you know. Well, this is what I come up with. I'm not much on straights. I just think it's more realistic to have a deer with his head turned a little bit to one side or the other. I just kind of put the ears the way the other one was, sort of, you know, pretty much. Just basically just change the cape out. But this is how I refurbish a deer using an existing form that's been mounted on before. This one came across a lot. The skin came off on this one a lot easier than a lot of them do. That is for sure. Well, here is the deer I done after I put the capes on them. They look a lot better.